Today we find ourselves at Oakland University meeting with Brian Peterson from Bees in the D, learning how we keep bees safe.
It's one of those things, and it's become more and more of an issue where the mortality rate about a decade ago was probably about 14 to 15% died in the winter. Now it's up to 50 to 60% dying. Wow. And the main reason is mites. And so I've treated both these hives for mites for the winter. I have a special fumigator that goes in there that doesn't hurt them but kills the mites. And so mites is the biggest one, it weakens them. But then a lot of people believe that they're weakened because of pesticides. People spraying their lawns, putting down the dandelion killer, spraying Roundup for weeds instead of just pulling them. And so then the bees land on the flowers that have been sprayed, and that gets in their system, and there are traces of it they have found in honey. So then, in a sense, humans are now poisoning themselves, but it weakens them. And if they're weakened, they can't make it through the winter. I mean, they need to have everything going for them. So I treat them for mites.
Since the 1950s, the number of honey-producing bee colonies in the United States has decreased by 50%. An unexplained phenomenon called colony collapse disorder. Why is this important?
A 16-ounce jar of honey.
Okay.
So a pound of honey.
Yeah.
It takes about 1,200 bees to make that one jar of honey. Okay. And it takes them flying, I think the statistic is about 117,000 miles. Meaning that they go back and forth, a 2-mile radius from their hive, but they go back and forth, and they have to visit about 4.5 million flowers just to make one jar. And so insane. I always tell people, if you put it on your biscuits like I do really heavy, lick that plate when you're done because those bees work hard.
Scientists aren't sure what's causing this disorder, whether it's management stressors, environmental factors, fungus or virus, or a parasite.
If honeybees disappear and we do not find replacements that can do the work they do, then foods we take for granted will decrease in supply and increase in price. As a result of the loss of wild bees, farmers in the United States have resorted to renting beehives from commercial beekeepers for pollination. Take the California almond industry, for example.
If worst case scenario, if they were to become completely extinct, how would it affect our world?
Initially, like, if you want to enjoy a bag of almonds, you're going to pay quadruple, if not more, because pollination will still occur. There will still be some things pollinating, and some plants are able to self-pollinate, so it's not going to devastate every food out there. But just to give you an example, the almond groves of California, these individuals that own these millions and millions of trees, I mean, it's called a mono society because there's so many. They bring in beehives when they're in blossom by the thousands. And these beekeepers literally are paid millions of dollars to put these hives on their property. And because it nets them $10 million worth of product. And so by spending $1 million, they're going to get 10 million, so it's worth it. But it's kind of a sad life for the bees because the hives are there for 2 weeks and then they ship them off to the next place, like the watermelon fields, and then they ship them off, and it's just a rough life for the bees because they have to do the orientation flight, and now all of a sudden they're like, where are we now? They're locked in their hive for the transport. And obviously when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of hives, they can't be super careful with them.
Many of our food crops from both man and animals depend on bees for pollination. It is estimated that if the bee population was somehow reduced by at least 30%, more than half of the world's food supply would be adversely affected.
So we know that there is a bee situation. The question is, what can we do, both big and small, to help?
What would be some of the things that you would suggest for us, the planet, or even as small as households to maybe help and improve?
So my biggest thing is, the first thing is education. I mean, people need to know the importance because they're not going to want to help if they don't know. And so that's why I'm doing what I do. The average homeowner can put out more flowers, can plant more herbs. They love lavender, they love anise, there's so many plants, raspberries. They love trees. I mean, plant flowering trees, plant maples that have little flowers. Just planting, and then they need a lot of water. And a lot of times in areas they don't have water. We're lucky that we have some wetlands here that they can get water. And so, like one of the Lego leagues that I worked with, we made little bee stops. And they looked like little mini bird baths.
We want to take a moment to thank Brian Peterson, owner of the nonprofit organization Bees and the D's.
Please visit the link shown on the screen and support your local beekeepers.